Here we are, over and done with the honorable mentions for our 2012 Game of the Year, and it's on to the meat and potatoes. Without further ado, here are TGN's top 10 games of 2012. Number 10, Spec Ops The Line. On its surface, you may think that this is yet another run-of-the-mill third-person cover shooter, and you would probably be right. The gameplay is rather generic, and it can get a bit repetitive by the time you near the end of the game. Sure, it's decent for what it is, but there's nothing that really sets the core gameplay as a standout to others in the same genre. Instead, the real beauty here is found within the game's story and voice acting. Without question, the Apocalypse Now-inspired descent into madness is where the game shines. Can you imagine? A game that stands so well on its story that the gameplay actually takes a back seat. Well, believe it, because Spec Ops is proof positive how a well-constructed story can turn what would otherwise be mediocrity into a top 10 game of 2012. The delivery put forth by Nolan North as Captain Martin Walker is probably some of his best work to date, and with the number of games under North's belt, that is really no small feat to achieve. Number 9, Hotline Miami. Hotline Miami is one of those surprise hits that is near universally enjoyed by anybody who gives it a go. It features a twisted story, unapologetic brutality, and a difficulty that sometimes borders on rage-inducing. The thing is, however, the difficulty doesn't come from cheap AI. You know that when things go south, it's because of something you screwed up. The top-down gameplay and retro-style visuals bring back memories of the original Grand Theft Auto titles, if Grand Theft Auto included the level of violence found in the Manhunt series and a splash of Super Meat Boy's difficulty. Oh, and the soundtrack. Who could possibly forget the soundtrack? Hotline Miami sports one of the best soundtracks of the year without a doubt. A few technical issues aside, Hotline Miami is a must-have game for those looking for solid, challenging gameplay that constantly keeps you on your toes. And as one person put it, it's like building a stairway to heaven out of bodies. Number 8, Trials Evolution. I guess I must be a bit sadistic. That's the second title in a row here that features some truly challenging gameplay. I must admit I was never a huge fan of Trials HD, so I was a bit apprehensive when Trials Evolution was released on the Xbox Live Marketplace early last year. That worry quickly disappeared when I realized I had sunk hours into the game my first time playing it, hooked on its tight dirt bike controls and multitude of fantasy-inspired stunt courses. The premise is simple: get from the start to finish in each course. The challenge lies in the precise jumps, loops, ramps, and explosions that you need to conquer along the way. It's all accomplished thanks to simple physics and the shifting of weight, mixed with just the right amount of knowing when to accelerate and when to brake. Already filled to the brim with a number of pre-built courses, Trials Evolution goes above and beyond by including a very robust level editor, which has resulted in everything from standard race courses to entirely new game modes, all of which is offered free of charge from users all around the world. Number 7, Planetside II. One of the first things you'll notice upon dropping into the world of Planetside II is the fact that there is something going on almost everywhere. Think of this game as a free-to-play version of a Battlefield title, and then take that idea and turn it up to around 11. A persistent three-way battle across 3 continents means that you can drop in and drop out whenever you want, and there will always be something to do. With hundreds of players engaged in these battles, fighting for control over areas of a map can turn, for lack of a better word, epic. When you have an entire convoy of teammates rolling into an area in tanks, ATVs, transport vehicles, fast-moving air vehicles, and more, in addition to a plethora of foot soldiers, you know you're part of something spectacular. While fun playing alone, the real beauty of Planetside 2 comes when you hop into a squad with some buddies on TeamSpeak or Ventrilo in order to organize your next plan of attack. All of this is rounded out by a persistent leveling system that allows you to specialize each class in the game to your particular tastes. Number 6, XCOM, Enemy Unknown. Sure, XCOM has made many top 10 lists already, and there's good reason for it. It's a really, really, really good game. Really. I'm not kidding here. It's really good. Let it be known right now that I never played the original games in the series. I've known about them, but I've never actually played them for myself, so diving into Enemy Unknown was a weird and almost scary experience. However, even though there was a great depth to the strategy in this game, the mechanics never really overwhelm you, be you a new or returning player to the series. Though some may find issue with the behind-the-scenes dice rolling that determines the likelihood of shots hitting their mark or critical damage, I just realized that it's the nature of being random that means you always need to stay aware of your surroundings if you want to survive and win. XCOM suffers from civilization syndrome. You may sit down with the intention to just take one more turn or do one more map, and you end up playing for hours longer than you ever intended. It's a game that sinks its hooks into you and doesn't let up until the wee hours of the morning, and certainly not until that last alien scum is taken out with a well-placed sniper shot from the veteran soldier you moved to an opportune position. Even if you aren't a fan of the original games of the series or a fan of strategy games itself, you owe it to yourself to give XCOM Enemy Unknown a good, hard look. And then hours later, after that first look is over, you'll come to understand why XCOM has received such high universal praise. Alright, we made it up to number 5, but stay tuned later this week for the top 5 games of 2012. I know, I'm slow, and I should have had this up earlier. My apologies, blame my internet, and blame my laziness. This has been Zips with Total Gaming Network and CS Nation. We'll catch you next time, which will probably just be a couple days from now.